knows, the Cold War was hilarious, and Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 is the second most fun product of the Cold War after Dr. Strangelove. Red Alert 2 was made by Westwood Studios and released in the year 2000. In this retrospective, we'll play through the first missions of both the US and USSR campaigns, compare it to other titles, talk about the gameplay, mechanics and more. But first, I really like the cover art for Red Alert 2, it's instantly recognizable and a real classic. Fun fact, there are two versions of that cover, one where the guy has the American flag in his sights and another one made post 9/11 where the flag is replaced by a nuclear mushroom. I did some research and the guy on the box is an actor called Igor Gigikin. This is from the photo shoot to the cover. The game offers some technical challenges to say the least on modern PCs, so let's cover that real quick. I got the game from Origin and it was completely unplayable for me. The game ran in like 2 frames per second and it went haywire when I tried to change the resolution. EA should really make sure they sell working games, this is just not good enough. As always, there are mods and fixes galore for this game, but I want to play the game as close to the original as possible. Google came to the rescue, so just edit the raw 2.ini file and insert some video settings. I used the 1280 by 720, anything higher and things get too small. I'll put the code in the description if you want to try it out. The game does crash every so often though, so be sure to save in those longer missions. Let's talk about the backstory and setting of Red Alert 2. On the surface, it looks like your standard USSR versus US setting, but this is much more fantastical, and I suspect certain Family Guy episodes are inspired by this. So we're in an alternate universe where Albert Einstein invents a time machine, it travels back in time and removes Adolf Hitler from history. World War II as we know it never happens, but the Soviet Union tries to conquer Europe just to get defeated by the Allies. The Allies sets up the USSR as a puppet state and installs Alexander Romanov as the premier. Romanov covertly rebuilds the USSR's military might and launches a full-scale invasion of the US in 1972. And this is where we start the game. There are 2 separate campaigns, one for the Allies and one for the USSR. Strangely enough, they run simultaneously, so it doesn't matter which one you play first. Okay, we'll play through the first mission in the Allies campaign, starting with the intro cinematic. The story is conveyed through full motion videos. They're really bad, but still good, like in a B-movie.
Commander, good morning. We've successfully instituted the President's Emergency Lazarus Protocol. I'm Lieutenant Eva, the intel officer assigned to your command. And since you're the only commander left alive, I guess I'm pretty lucky to have a job. It appears that we have suffered a full-scale Soviet invasion. Nearly all our major cities are under siege and our forces are in complete disarray. Please stand by, Commander. We have an incoming broadcast from General Carville at the Pentagon.
I hope you're rested and ready, Commander, because as of 0800 hours, you are in control of every satellite, base, tank, airplane, enlisted man, woman, and child in the eastern United States. You answer to the President, and you answer to me. Your ops officer and vital lifeline will be the Lieutenant. Your point man for this mission will be Special Agent Tanya.
General, I hope the commander is up to speed because we don't have time to waste.
I'm sure Tanya has every confidence in you, Commander.
Oh, you're sure? Well, it's not your life that's on the line out here.
She's the best there is, but you'll get along better with the Soviets. You'll get started immediately. First stop, New York. The lieutenant will give you the details.
Not long ago, the Soviets made an amphibious landing on Manhattan Island and are using their ground troops to systematically take over the city. Fortunately, we still have a hold on Fort Bradley, but our comlink has been severed. If you can get Agent Tanya into Bradley, she will re-establish the link. Good luck, Commander.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. The Soviet Navy is attacking the Statue of Liberty. We can't let them get away with that. Sir, is there anything you can do? Incoming transmission.
Tanya here. Listen up. We got a couple commie dreadnoughts in the harbor, looking for a special sightseeing tour of the Hudson River. I say we give them a very special view of the bottom first.
Battle control.
Alright, let's learn the basics of the game while saving the Statue of Liberty. We're in control of Tanya, the commando soldier, which might be the most powerful unit in the game. She takes out 4 dreadnoughts in seconds using her C4 and gets a promotion while doing so. Units can get up to 3 levels of veterancy in Red Alert 2, making them more powerful with every level. You may have noticed the awesome soundtrack this game has. That's Frank Lepacki. If you don't know who that is, he's the original Mick Gordon, and he's created some fantastic soundtracks to all of the Command & Conquer games.
Incoming transmission.
I offer a special invitation to citizens of the United States from the great Soviet Union. See your liberty, how she lies broken before you. In but a moment's time, your once powerful city of New York will follow in her footsteps. The choice is yours. You can continue to mourn your past, or surrender, and join us in the great Soviet Revolution.
Unit lost.
The first mission is super easy, but later on you really have to micromanage your units to get the most out of them. Make sure your promoted units survive using the right units for the right job, and so on. And the units are cool, inventive, and many of them have secondary skills, like these marines that can deploy with sandbags, giving them longer range and dealing more damage. They can also garrison civilian buildings, making them pretty cool. New units are introduced pretty much on every level in the campaign. It works well and the pacing feels good. And something I always enjoyed in the Command & Conquer series, there's no unit cap. So if you have the resources, you can always build another unit.
Take it, baby! I'm there. I'm on.
Congratulations. We've re-established contact with Fort Bradley. They're turning over control of the base and its troops to you. Incoming transmission.
Destination, Commander?
Good work, Commander. We're back in contact with the fort. Tanya has sent over intel on the location of an important Soviet supply base in the area. General Carville would like you to dispose of it ASAP. Oh, keep up the good work, sir.
Now we're introduced to the base building and resource gathering part of the game. The Command & Conquer series features resource gathering vehicles that have to travel to a mineral field and then return to the ore refinery. This design feels old. StarCraft's design has spoiled me with constant resource gathering and having to balance that instead of waiting for an ore truck to travel half the map to get some cash. However, some maps do have oil derricks that give you constant resources. When it comes to base building, Red Alert 2 sticks close to its predecessors. Your construction yard lets you build different buildings, and they have to be built within the radius of the existing buildings. Outside of the campaign, you can pack up your construction yard and drive it somewhere else if you want to set up a base there. It's good for when resources are far away, or to trick an opponent in multiplayer. We'll come back to the different buildings and units later. One thing has become clear to me as a modern gamer when I replay old games. Even though I love old games, some things are just better in newer titles. In Red Alert 2, to attack move, meaning that you go to a location and attack anyone on the way, you have to use Control plus Shift plus Click. The default in new RTS titles is A plus Click, which is way easier. But it's nice that Red Alert 2 has this at all. Here we see the Soviet base for the first time. It becomes clear that the two factions are quite different from each other. The Allies have high-tech looking structures, while the Soviets have some strange looking buildings. The construction yard has one of those Russian domes, the barracks have a huge Soviet soldier on top of it, and the power generator, called the Tesla generator, suggests that they possess very different tech from the Allies. This is one of Red Alert 2's big strengths, the asymmetrical factions. They make playing the different factions feel unique, and each faction supports very different playstyles and tactics. We've pretty much completed the first mission here, just a few buildings left to blow up. Let's skip ahead and check out the first mission for the Soviets, starting with the intro cinematic.
Comrade General, my name is Lieutenant Zofia. It will be my job to see that your command runs smoothly. I have assisted in over 50 successful campaign simulations since the Great War. I believe you will be more than satisfied with my services. Please stand by, comrade. It is Premier Romanov himself.
If the lovely Lieutenant Sophia has finished pushing for promotion, I would like some time with my general, please.
Of course, Premier.
Comrade General, welcome to the future of Soviet Union. I wanted to introduce you to my little friend. This is Sam, like Uncle Sam. Say hello, little uncle. The Americans, they have turtle in children's film. It teaches them to fear Soviet Union. The little turtle sees big Russian missiles coming, and it ducks, and it covers. Duck, cover. Today we will make history, comrade. Together we will destroy the United States, their cities, their homes, their dreams, and perhaps more. This is my advisor, Yuri. He will help make this possible.
I am but a servant of the Soviet Union like you. However, at this moment we must hurry. Time is of the essence.
Of course. Comrade, your first objective will be Washington, D.C. Show us that we were right to let you sit at our table, Comrade General. Crush the Allies in the American capital and destroy the Pentagon.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Reinforcements have arrived. Commander, this is the first step in our glorious conquest. Victory here is crucial. Remember, we must crush the Pentagon. Above all else, the Pentagon must be destroyed. Battle controlled online.
Seriously, with cinematics and characters like that, it's fun being the bad guy in Red Alert 2. They use good actors and Udo Kier does an awesome job as Yuri, the mind-controlling guy. Just a quick mention, Yuri's Revenge is the name of Red Alert 2's expansion pack and it's really good. If you never played it, I highly recommend you pick it up.
Order received.
Warning, enemy infantry battalion detected. Commander, this allied GI is a well-trained soldier capable of quickly deploying a heavy machine gun when stationed within buildings or deploy with his sandbag vest.
Back to the game then. This mission also serves as a tutorial, since you can play both campaigns in the order you desire. We're already in control of a good number of conscripts, the basic grunt of the Soviet army. This unit does not have any special abilities like the Allies' GI troop, but they can garrison buildings. Their strength, however, lies in numbers as they are very cheap. Just build as many as you can and send them in, like in Stalin's order number 227. Let's talk a bit about the game feel and the fun factor. Being used to modern RTS games, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get back into the groove. It feels somewhat clunky to select troops and getting your troops to do what you want, how you want, but as soon as you get the hang of it, it quickly becomes a lot of fun. The pathfinding has been improved massively from Red Alert 1, and units behave more like you expect them to, even though they may choose a strange way of getting to their objective once in a while. It's satisfyingly fast-paced, and most units and buildings don't take too long to build, and combat can be over in just a few seconds if you have the advantage. The game speed is adjustable though, so you can tweak it however you like to play. Red Alert 2 is a so-called 2.5D game, and unit animations have clearly been given a lot of love, as you can see in the details. I'm still impressed by the level of details on the units, especially if you have an explosive go off near a tank, you can see it get tilted by the blast to simulate the physics. And to clarify regarding the 2.5D term, this means that the game is mostly in 2D using 2D sprites, but it also features voxels, which are like 3D pixels. Back in the day, voxels were easier for computers to render, and at one point were considered the future of games. See games like Delta Force, the Comanche series, and Outcast to mention a few. And while I'm name-dropping other titles, let's talk a bit about multiplayer and another comparable RTS game released around the same time as Red Alert 2 to get a better understanding of what the scene was like at the time. StarCraft hit the shelves in 1998, 2 years prior to the release of Red Alert 2. It had a huge impact on the RTS genre, and the world of multiplayer was changed forever with Blizzard's Battle.net, their online matchmaking service. Westwood Studios already had their own online service for multiplayer games called Westwood Online, released in 1996. It featured matchmaking, friends list, chat, and a ladder where players could compete to be the top player. Red Alert 2 was a popular multiplayer game at the time, but it could never compete with Blizzard's Battle.net numbers. That being said, Red Alert 2 and other Command & Conquer games can still be played online today. Check out the links in the description. A cool addition to multiplayer and skirmish matches are factions. You can choose different countries that are aligned with the Allies or Soviets, and that has a unique unit for each faction to help cater to different playstyles. For instance, France is aligned with the Allies and they can build a huge defensive structure called the Grand Cannon. And Libya is aligned with the Soviets and can build a demolition truck, which is a suicide vehicle that delivers a lot of damage if it hits its target. It's kinda like a prototype for the Command & Conquer Generals expansion pack called 0 Hour. Let's compare Red Alert 2 to the first Red Alert game. The first game was released in 1996, so obviously graphically Red Alert 2 looks way nicer. The AI in the first game is horrible. The AI gathers the same few troops and attacks in the same pattern over and over again. Red Alert 2 improves in this regard and the enemy mixes things up way more. Attacking a base in Red Alert 1 was frustrating. The AI recruits troops almost faster than you can destroy them and their buildings, and also rebuilds defensive turrets while you attack. It makes sense for a human player to do this, but in single player it just feels a bit cheap. Last but not least, the full motion video cinematics. In Red Alert 1, they went for a more serious tone, and I have to say I'm not a sensitive guy, but playing the Soviet missions where you destroy civilian villages, and hearing Stalin and his men discussing war atrocities and genocide is in really bad taste, to say the least. As I mentioned before, Red Alert 2 has taken the series in a completely new direction in this regard, and that was a stroke of brilliance on Westwood's part. Just going all in with humor and goofiness was really the way to go. By the way, there's a remastered version of the first Command & Conquer game and Red Alert 1, and it's great. It still has all its original flaws, but the music, cinematics and graphics have been redone. It looks and sounds amazing. Oh, and here's the Pentagon. I'll be quiet while it gets destroyed.
Unit lost. Unit promoted. Reinforcements have arrived. Reinforcements ready. Unit lost.
Waiting order.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit promoted.
Waiting order.
Superb, Commander. The Pentagon has been destroyed.
Order received.
Unit promoted. Mission accomplished.
So that's the two missions done. In my opinion, the diversity and multi-role units in Red Alert 2 is one of the key reasons why this game is so great. Let's look at the different units from each side, but we'll skip the special units for each faction, as well as the units that are only present in the campaign. There are 3 units that are more or less similar for both sides. The Engineer, which we saw in the campaign, he can capture enemy buildings and repair stuff. The Attack Dog, that's strong against infantry and can spot enemy spies, but it can't do anything against armored units. And lastly, the Amphibious Transport that can transport units across land and sea. The Soviet version is slightly better armored. We also have the resource gathering vehicles for both sides that are quite different. The Soviets have the War Miner, which is armored, has a machine gun and can carry more than its allied counterpart. The Allies, however, have the Chrono Miner. It's vulnerable and defenseless, but it will teleport back to base after harvesting resources. Continuing on with the Soviet units, we have the Conscript. It's inexpensive and can be mass built using the cloning vat, a building that produces 1 extra unit for each one you build, so it also works for other infantry units. The Tesla Trooper, which is one of my favorites. They showcase the Soviet focus on alternative technology and is very useful and can't be crushed by tanks like other infantry can. In addition, up to 3 Tesla Troopers can power up a defensive building called the Tesla Coil, giving it more range, damage, and it also makes the Tesla Coil not require power from your base. Here's the Flak Trooper. He's useful against armored units and aerial units. And Crazy Ivan, he can place explosives on just about anything. It's Yuri, the mind-controlling guy from earlier. He's very powerful, and you probably guessed what his skills on the battlefield are. Taking over enemy units, which can be very powerful. He can also unleash a psychic blast that's lethal to enemy infantry. You can also get an upgraded version of him with the same abilities but stronger. It's called Yuri Prime. He's quite difficult to obtain, as you have to have a spy that infiltrates a Soviet battle lab while also owning a Soviet barracks. Next up is the Soviet basic tank called the Rhino. It has a longer range and does more damage than the Allied tank, but it's slower. The Flak Track is a multi-purpose vehicle that can attack aerial and ground targets. It also doubles as a troop transport. The Terror Drone. This one is quite dangerous. It can jump into enemy vehicles and destroy it from the inside. It can also insta-kill infantry units. The V3 rocket is the Soviets' artillery piece. It does a lot of damage, but it's quite weak. The Apocalypse Tank. It's big, slow, and it's devastating both against air and land units. The Kiro airship is the Soviets' only aircraft. It's large, imposing, and drops bombs that deals massive damage, but it's very slow and has no anti-air capabilities. Time for the Soviet naval units, and first up is the Typhoon attack sub. It's invisible to most units and can attack other naval targets both on and under the surface. The Sea Scorpion is the all-arounder. It can attack units in the air, on the land, or on sea. The Dreadnought is basically artillery on water, but it's heavily armored. It's mostly useful when escorted by other units. And there's one more Soviet naval unit, but I'm saving it for later. Instead, we'll take a look at the Soviet superweapons, and first up is the nuclear missile. It's exactly what you expect. Massive damage, and it causes radiation to linger for a while. Their second superpower is interestingly called the Iron Curtain. It grants armored vehicles invulnerability for 50 seconds, and those 50 seconds can make all the difference. So, switching over to the Allied side, we have the GI, which we saw earlier. Next up, the Rocketeer, a flying infantry unit that can fire at both air and land. The Spy can conceal himself as an enemy unit and can infiltrate enemy buildings, granting different bonuses depending on the building type. Tanya, which we saw in the opening sequences in the Allied mission, she absolutely destroys infantry. She can swim and she destroys buildings with C4. The Chrono Legionnaire is interesting. He can teleport around the map and instead of shooting, he erases enemies out of time. There's also an upgraded version called the Chrono Commando. He's armed with an assault rifle and the C4. To get him, you have to infiltrate an Allied battle lab with a spy. And if you make your spy infiltrate the Soviet battle lab, you can build the Psy Commando. He can mind control enemies and has C4 to destroy buildings. The Grizzly battle tank is the basic Allied tank. The infantry fighting vehicle comes with a rocket launcher, but it can change role. If you put an engineer in the IFV, it makes it repair vehicles. If you put a GI in it, it gets a machine gun, and so on. The Prism tank is the Allies' artillery. It shoots a beam of light that can reflect off its target and damage nearby enemies as well. The Mirage tank is a sneaky one. When it stands still, it looks like a tree. Great for ambushes, no pun intended. Let's check out the Allies' Air Force, and first up is the Nighthawk transport. It can carry infantry units and it's invisible on the enemy radar. This is the Harrier. You can station 4 of them on the Air Force Command Headquarters building, and they're very effective when used in numbers. The naval units are up now, and the Destroyer is the basic unit that can fire on anything. It also carries an aircraft which is capable of destroying submerged enemy ships. The Aegis Cruiser is an anti-air and anti-missile ship, great for escorting other ships or to defend your base. The Aircraft Carrier. This one is cool. It carries 3 Hornet aircrafts and it's quite powerful. And finally, the 2 last units, including the Soviet one I saved from later. It showcases the realism present in Red Alert 2. Squids and dolphins! Highly realistic as mentioned. Check out these real-life examples. This is a mostly declassified top-secret document from the CIA, detailing Soviet naval mammal training. And the US trains mammals too? Dolphin fun fact, in 2007, the US Navy spent $14 million on research on marine animals as weapons. And how about this special project called Acoustic Kitty, where the idea was to operate listening devices in cats and have them eavesdrop on the enemy. And as always, reality is stranger than fiction. It's the Bat Bomb. It was a bomb with over 1,000 compartments, each containing a bat with a small timed incendiary bomb attached to it. Unfortunately, the project was cancelled when the atomic bomb found its way into our hearts. That's all for this episode. In conclusion, Red Alert 2 is still a lot of fun once you get it working and you get into it. It's one of the most unique and funny RTS games out there, and I highly recommend it even to this day. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked this video.
Remember when you were just alive.